Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and while I'm doing this, I'm watching the NCAA baseball tournament. I'm watching Florida versus Kentucky right now, and I'll tell you an interesting story about Kentucky. When my 18-year-old, my 18-year-old is going off to play JUCO baseball this fall. And when he was little, I used to tell you all about, I'd be in the cage with him and I'd be throwing baseballs to him and all. But he also took lessons, and I had him taking baseball lessons at this facility this is when he was little. And he's a huge Mississippi State fan because that's where his grandfather played football. And the guy that was giving him lessons says, "Hey, Nick Maggione, who is one of the assistant coaches for Mississippi State, is here looking at a player that comes in here in our facility." And so my son got to take a picture with Nick Maggione. Nick Maggione was then one of the assistant coaches at Mississippi State. He's now in the NCAA tournament as the head coach at Kentucky, which is one of the schools that my son may even, when he gets ready, may even go and possibly be recruited by, like if he gets to his speed and everything where he needs to be. And so everything could come full circle. A kid that was just a little kid taking a picture with an assistant coach at Mississippi State. I'm not saying he would, but I'm just saying that it could be a very real possibility. He could be someone that they would even look at as a potential pitcher. So life comes full circle. The lesson is work your butt off. Okay, Ashley Prosper and Fred Brispoli, I think, are over the target on something. This is the letter that was sent to Consensus from the SEC, and everybody immediately was like, "Oh yeah, Ethereum's off the hook." But they took a closer look. This is the last line. "We are providing this notice under the guidelines set out in final paragraph of Securities Act release number 5310, which states in part that the notice must in no way be construed as indicating that the party has exonerated or that no action may ultimately result from the staff's investigation." Ashley Prosper says, "Until the SEC says we have determined Ethereum is not a security, I will remain skeptical and cautious. The SEC is full of surprises. ETHGATE is far from over." And let me remind everybody for a minute, anybody that you see out there saying that ETHGATE is dead does not understand ETHGATE, first of all. Let me explain to you when I say ETHGATE, I'm talking about all of the nefarious activities that went on from the Ethereum ICO all the way to the dropping of the Ripple lawsuit in December 2020. What happened today has nothing to do with ETHGATE. And the reason it has nothing to do is because the SEC wasn't even looking into any of what happened during those days. They were looking into Ethereum 2.0, which has absolutely nothing to do with ETHGATE. Okay? So just to even try to draw a line from the news that came out about Consensus and ETHGATE is completely, it's not the same thing. Okay? So that's the first thing. You got to be a moron to think that ETHGATE's dead, because I can point to several things. One being that CPAC's going after Hinman's law license in New York and in California. Then I can point to Empower, Empower is still in a lawsuit to go after that list of names. I could show them to you, of all those people that were potentially involved in ETHGATE. It's alive and well. Not to mention the fact that there is not just a documentary, but a damn good documentary that's going to tell the whole freaking story to the world, and it's on the conveyor belt. It's coming. And if you think things don't happen when big documentaries come out and people become aware powerful people that matter become aware of things that they weren't aware of before. Come on. That's just childish. Okay. Now, or it's somebody with an agenda. Fred Rispoli. Although it is certainly awesome to not be subject to an SEC investigation, substantively, this closing of the investigation may not mean much. Why? Well, first of all, before I get into this, the first why is that Gary Gensler has no honor, and Gary Gensler's never talking to you as a person that's telling it like it is. He's always hiding behind something because he's a scheming, conniving rat, okay? He says, why? Because of the post below. Consensus fight continues in district court in Texas. Substantively, this lawsuit and SEC enforcement action are the same case. The only difference are burden of proof and position. Switches of the parties. I did think SEC would seek to dismiss the Texas case and file its enforcement suit in a favorable jurisdiction. This seems highly unlikely now. What happens to the Texas case now? If consensus dismisses, we are merely at a wash, exactly where we were before the investigation was made public. For more accurately, before it started, if consensus persists, the same issues will be litigated just without the threat of civil fines and penalties and jail time, and the enforcement action been filed. Had the enforcement action been filed, what happens next will be extremely illuminating in determining substantively what the SEC's actual public agency position is on ETH. Also, the SEC has notified us that it is oh, sorry, this is somebody else talking here. Okay, next, Fred Rispoli says this, folks. 6 days ago, under oath, Gary Gensler of the SEC refused to answer to Congress if ETH and the Ethereum network were securities. And some now think a one paragraph letter puts everything into the clear. Celebrate the win, but do not take your foot off the effing gas pedal. I like it. Okay. Then I said today, did I miss it, or have Brad Garlinghouse and Stuart Alderoty not weighed in on the Ethereum Free Pass 2.0 farce? Well, they had not weighed in, but then all of a sudden Stuart Alderoty weighed in. A big win for consensus, though questions remain. Does this mean the SEC thinks consensus offers and sales of ETH are not securities transactions, and or that ETH itself is not a security? What will Gensler say if now asked what is the status of MetaMask and staking? This is no way for a government to regulate. And then Ashley Prosper jumps in. Exactly, those claiming that Ethereum is in the clear are at best misleading the public. The closing of an investigation does not equal legal or regulatory clarity. And then, of course, I wanted to remind everybody, and I'll say it for the 1,000th time here, we're not done with exposing the ETHGATE SEC corruption until there's a level playing field. I said it 10 jillion times. The goal never was to harm Ethereum. The goal was to have a level playing field. And until they gave us the level playing field to expose what the corruption was that they had done, there is nothing level about letting Ethereum off the hook within months while keeping Ripple in a lawsuit for over 3 years and making them spend hundreds of millions of dollars. I stand by that. Now, this is one of Consensus's attorneys, and she says, this point is worth repeating. The investigation wasn't just aimed at Consensus. It covered Ethereum as a whole, and thus anyone who contributed code or bought and sold ETH. The entire investigation is closed, not just for Consensus, but for everyone. And I said, does it also cover Joseph Lubin allowing large whales to disguise their purchases using multiple email addresses? She didn't answer that one. But I also wanted to translate what she's saying here. It covered Ethereum as a whole, and thus anyone who contributed code or bought and sold Ethereum. Here's what I think they were really concerned about. I think they were really concerned about Gensler declaring Ethereum a security, and then think about everything we uncovered about ETHGATE. All those buys and sells. What if all of a sudden Ethereum was called a security? It would make all of those people that had been involved in making buys and sells with insider knowledge, it would have made it would have made them all guilty of crimes. I believe that's what they were really wanting to get out from under here. Okay, so all right, I've got more stuff, but I'm gonna cover it. I've got more on the Ethereum thing and other things, but I'm gonna go over it in the group at DAIXRP.com. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family to say hello to Johnny from the UK, who gave me this Zippo that some of you think is very annoying. Here we go.